fainted under the lights because it was so bright. And I remember thinking, oh my God, we've killed her. We've lost the campaign.
I remember going on a school visit with Kim Beazley in the 2001 campaign. It was in Ballarat or somewhere, and there was a group of young teenage girls that put on a dance performance, and the result was that there was this young woman gyrating in front of the then opposition leader. Yeah. She was spectacularly developed for a year 7 or whatever she was, and she was wearing a really tight...
By the way, you're the only person on this panel who could have said that.
Yeah. So I'm just putting it out there.
Right.
And she was wearing a very tight T-shirt that said, "I'm a hottie." And I just watched Kim Beazley's expression for that entire dance number, and I have never seen an adult look so uncomfortable.
The other thing we've noticed this time round is specially monogrammed high vis. Here's Kev with his own hard hat, Tony with his very own jacket, and Albo wearing Labor brand. He's probably got a lib one underneath. Kev also appeared at a lab last week looking quite at home in a white coat. Looks a little like it's a straitjacket. Todd, do you reckon that Tony could pull off that brainy look?
It's interesting when it comes to the smarts or how people are perceived, or how they're kind of positioned in this election. So you've got the kind of, brainy nerd versus the sort of action man. But I reckon Tony is smarter than he is positioned, and Kevin is less smart than he is positioned. I think yes, I do think he could pull it off. I don't think he would want to, because it plays against his sort of image of, for everyone, the action man.
But Toby, if you're a Rhodes Scholar like Tony Abbott is, and clearly has to be an intelligent man to have made it this far in politics, then why would you hide that?
I think the challenge for him is to be more of a worker, more of the people, which is why when he actually jumps into high vis, it works a lot better for him than it does for Rudd. You know, I mean, for Tony Abbott, at least he looks like a bloke who's got a tool shed. With Rudd, he just looks like a tool.
Momentum affects a lot whether those things work or not. In 2007, when Rudd did it, everyone thought he was a genius. But now that he's lost his momentum, anything that's kind of slightly kind of created, when you don't have momentum, looks terrible, and when you do, looks great. So yeah. Abbott could sort of come out in a, like a pink nurse's stripper outfit, and everyone go, "That's genius. He's really he's onto something." Whereas with Rudd, anything he does, because he's lost momentum, people are nitpicking and critical, and that's why it's so hard once you've lost momentum.
They have an enormously professional team, of course, in CHQ, who are across every photo op that gets taken. It's planned so far ahead. There's a squadron of people whose job it is to frame the right pictures, align them with policies, get the advances right. It's a massive job. There's huge thought in every shot you see.
Meanwhile, Malcolm Turnbull likes a bit of high vis. That's Armani. And Clive Palmer is high vis. High vis seems to work magically for almost everyone. Maybe it could even be the solution to this man's problem.
I wish people would describe me as having sex appeal.
Maybe not. What would elections be without the dreamers, the candidates who move to the beat of a different drum? On our way to the pitch tonight, let's pause to celebrate the likes of Mac Akasaka, president of the Smile Party of Japan.
Ah. Ooh. Ah.
Superman's let himself go. Mac's not the only superhero gunning for global office.
Contra a corrupção e o mensalão, agora você tem a solução. Super Moura. Há tempos ele vem se preparando para esse combate. Agora precisa apenas do seu voto. Super Moura. 17, 1, 2, 3. Desta vez, a corrupção e o mensalão perdem esta parada. Super Moura.
Super Moura is one of a bunch of Brazilian comic book characters asking for your vote. Should you be lucky enough to live in that country, you can also put your tick next to the political Hulk and the political boy wonder. I think that's Wyatt Roy. Brazil, clearly the Poland of South America, is home to the world's most flamboyant election candidates. From those of indefinite gender to pirates.
Ei, você aí do outro lado. Atravessei 70 mil mares para lembrá-lo. Acabe com a mamata.
That was still better than all of Lone Ranger. And also, I'm happy to say, actual real-life clowns like Tiririca.
Eu sou o Tiririca da televisão. Sou candidato a deputado federal. O que é que faz um deputado federal? Na realidade, eu não sei. Mas vote em mim, que eu te conto. Ótimo, Tiririca. Pior do que tá, não fica. Vote 2222 para deputado federal. Valeu?
Tiririca, aka Francisco Silva, stood for Parliament in 2010. Rivals tried to have him disqualified, but he received the second most votes in his country's history. Because no matter how hard we try not to, we always seem to elect clowns. Which brings us to the pitch. Tonight we've asked two agencies to make ads about election 2013's most colourful candidate, Clive Palmer, because his own ads are so terrible. Please welcome from 303 Alone, Daniel Clark, and from Havas Worldwide, Steve Cole. Now look, we don't want to give anyone a free kick on this show, so to make it fair, we've asked one agency to go pro-Palmer and the other to go anti-Palmer. Daniel, your job was to make Clive look good. Where did you start?
Yeah, well, we thought that most people don't want to vote for Clive Palmer because they just don't feel he belongs in politics. And we thought, well, maybe there's something in that.
Let's have a look.
You've got to remember, I'm not a political leader.
The government believes Clive Palmer has got no experience in new taxes.
But I most certainly think
Clive Palmer doesn't understand red tape. Red tape. Clive's
Got no experience in
vested interest. Vested interest. Clive Palmer thinks that anything is possible.
Clive Palmer says
If you are serious about creating jobs in Australia, well, anything is possible.
Clive Palmer says
Always tell the truth. The government believes
Clive Palmer
has what it takes for Australia's future.
Australia doesn't need another politician running it. Clive builds companies. Let him build our country. Vote Clive Palmer. He's no politician.
Good job. Steve, you were asked to make an effective anti-Clive ad.
We've revealed Clive Palmer's secret agenda. He doesn't love Jurassic Park and Titanic. What Clive really loves is disaster.
Let's have a look.
Clive Palmer, the guy who loves Jurassic Park so much he's building his own. We all know how that movie ended. The very same Clive Palmer building a replica of the Titanic. Everyone died in that one, too. Now, this maniac is running for Prime Minister, and if he's elected, no one is safe. Clive Palmer as Prime Minister will end badly. If you want to survive, don't vote for Clive.
Russell?
Well, the Steve's negative ad, if you want to survive, don't vote for Clive. I did like that. However, I'm going to go for the positive one because I actually think that might work for him.
Annabelle, what do you think?
Look, I think managing to tie beautifully both of the disaster correlated incidents that absolutely perk up Clive Palmer's campaign for all of us is work of genius. I'm going with Steve's ad.
What about you, Lachlan?
Look, I'm going for the positive ad. I think it touched on the biggest issue of the campaign, and that's that most people aren't happy with either option, and I think it really hit the button on that.
Toby?
He's no politician was perfect.
Finally, Todd?
Since Clive is just one large entertainment, I have to go with the most entertaining one, which was the second one.
Well, it may be the only one for the election, but it's a win for Clive. Congratulations. That's how our panel called it. You can have your say on Twitter or Facebook, or just stow away on a Titanic 2 lifeboat and tell Clive yourself. Now, back to the entertainment deck. This is On the Trail, where we strap on the blue tie and head out of the office. Tonight we look at the local candidate. The coalition strategy is all about unity and consistency.
G'day, I'm Nolene Eichen. You can count on me
To be your strong local voice.
In a better government.
We'll scrap the carbon tax
To reduce your
Cost of living pressures.
We'll help small business grow.
To create more local jobs.
And we'll stop the boats.
Stop the boats.
Stop the boats with tough, proven measures.
That's our pledge to deliver a stronger Australia and a better future.
Join us. The Lib Nats are a messaging machine. Not every ad is identical, but in most, the scripts, fonts, background colours and images are the same. Collect one, you have the whole set. Toby, why the cookie cutter model?
These are negatives couched as positives. They are bringing local voters back to the big national issues on which the coalition are going to win. If it becomes a fight between two local blokes, who's the better local representative? Well, Labor might well lose on the national issues, but they can win on the local things. So the job of the coalition is to say, no, this is, your local vote counts nationally. Conversely, Labor will be saying, oh, no, think about the local issues.
Australia isn't awash with advertising talent. Annabelle.
Is that right?
No, I mean, so it's...
Well, not now that you've left the industry.
Yeah, so you centralise the advertising talent and then use that for the benefit of the whole of the country.
Yeah, I love how you think that's the expression of, you know, the apex of Australian advertising.
I'm with you on that. Yeah.
The thing that will define Tony's campaign the most will be discipline. I think he thinks he's so far ahead. If Tony could say nothing, he would say nothing.
Labor has a different approach. If you look at their leaflets, it's clear that candidates choose their own designs, colour schemes and slogans. Wayne Swan, your hard-working local. Tanya Plibersek speaks for us. Tony Burke, a local who listens. Lachlan, is there a risk everyone's off message and you look like a rabble?
Not so much. Look, in printed material, I think printed material is hyper-local, so you can afford to kind of really break it down into kind of the local park, the local bus service and that sort of stuff. But if you were get into anything digital that can be broadcast like radio or TV, once that starts to get different messages, yeah, the risk of the whole campaign being distracted by someone having what they thought was a genius idea and it turns out they're not a political genius, that's why they're the backbencher in an unwinnable seat, that can be really problematic.
Yeah, it's kind of like in our business, there's two strategies that are often used. Is the master brand strategy, which is what Tony's implementing, which is everything sits off the master brand and everything's identical and feeds up into it. And then there's the house of brands, which is kind of how it's disintegrated as Labor. So there's multiple brands in there competing. And I think they have they have a cult of personality strategy all around Kevin. And Kevin's not overly concerned what the others are doing. He's just concerned what he's doing.
You see, there's an interesting thing when you're doing, particularly with mailers. You drop all those mailers you get and you read them between your front door and you're dropping them in the bin. The fancier they are, the more they are full colour, the more lavish they are, the more that sends a message of waste. The most effective ones are the handwritten neighbourhood letters. The slightly less effective ones are the Roneo, black and white ones. The cheaper and more hokey they are, the more effective they tend to be because they're real.
Wow. That Tony Burke pamphlet is notable for what it doesn't say. There's a word missing. Labor. It's not there anywhere. Anywhere, because he's a local who listens and people don't like Labor. Annabelle, why doesn't he want us to know what party he comes from?
Because he's hoping to win a seat in New South Wales.
It's the referendum strategy, and it's their master strategy and their micro strategy for Labor. The whole campaign is a referendum between Abbott and Rudd, and every little seat campaign is a referendum between Tony Burke and whoever's running against Tony Burke, because they don't want you to consider the parties and all that, and the baggage that goes with the last 6 years from Labor. And so everything is about micro referendums. And it's worked sometimes in the past. In South Australia, it worked quite well. A long-term Labor government held on to power there by turning these seats into micro referendums. So it can work. It's going to be a really tough sell this time.
It'd be a great Labor slogan, wouldn't it? Vote X, I'm not with them.
I think you'll find that's my party, someone else. Tony Burke's not the only one without party branding. Check out Malcolm Turnbull's website. No Liberal logo, but he's invented one of his own. Stands for money. The Malcolm Party. Russell, what's going on here? Is it wishful thinking?
Advertising, if you like, it's a window into companies. And what's going on here, of course, is websites. They're a window into, in this case, the individual. And it really is fascinating, isn't it, that he has chosen to create his own site, his own logo, his own typeface. I'm imagining that that would appeal to his constituents. They are, of course, if you like, small L liberals, or if you like, maybe progressively minded. And so he figures that he's better off just going his own way and appealing directly to their sensibilities.
And he's always done that as well. Yeah. This isn't just a fit of pique about not being leader anymore. I mean, I think it's terrific that Malcolm is the only politician in this campaign who has obviously monogrammed his own website.
He's an interesting candidate in that he is socially to the left and economically to the right. And he speaks his mind. He's kind of the member for Q&A, you know. And so he's loved, and it makes a lot of sense for him to build his own brand.
The Palmer United Party is following the Liberal blueprint with assembly line commercials and a strict dress code of banana-coloured neckwear. World's worst Brady Bunch. Trouble is, there's always a chance someone will miss the memo and look like an idiot. Speaking of missing the memo, here's a video from Tasmanian Liberal Bernadette Black.
Hey there, Rockstar. My name is Bernie Black, and I'm thrilled that you clicked through. You look like the kind of person who is fun to be around. You're a hard worker too. You have a few nights a month where you get to earn that little bit of extra cash that comes in handy for the small mercies in life, like Macca's or a late night pizza.
It's like she doesn't know me at all. Bernadette also released this teaser video, whoisbernie.com.au. Sadly, her website is actually whoisbernadetteblack.com. Oops. Toby, what happens at HQ when a candidate goes off-piste?
When a candidate goes off-piste, headquarters gets pieced off. There are a lot of really hard-working people. I mean, as this program goes to air, there'll probably be 80 people sitting in CHQ. They've been there since 5 in the morning. They'll work till 10, 11 at night. TV screens everywhere, and they'll start throwing bits of paper at the screen when this kind of thing comes on. At a more serious level, probably someone like Brian Loughnane, the federal director, will pick up the phone and speak to this candidate, and also the state director who authorised this work, and basically talk to them until they cry, reminding them that they're one cog in a machine, and they can make that machine fail if they continue to do this sort of thing.
The bigwigs at campaign headquarters can get it wrong sometimes. I remember in the 2004 campaign, Dave Tollner was the candidate for Solomon, which is around Darwin, and his dog bit his neighbour, who was a mum with 3 kids, and actually drew blood, and it was quite a big story. And his defence was, it's a dog, they bite people. And so it became a really big story. We, of course, jumped on it. We were spreading it around the whole, everywhere. I think Howard got a question. It got up in the UK papers. And then the local candidate, the Labor candidate, rang us up and said, can you guys stop spreading that dog story? It's doing really well for him up here. So you can get it really wrong, you know what I mean? It's hard to know what works locally.
As always, great candidate ads are more likely to come from smaller parties.
Canberra has no clue about what's happening in your life. They blame each other. Instead of the spin, he'll talk straight about what's wrong with the major parties. Meet Boggy. He's a mechanic. He's a real person with a real job and is a real candidate. Get Boggy into Parliament. On September 14, vote One Country Alliance.
He's a real bloke, using the blue CSI light to check that car for semen. First of all, if you made your ad a couple of months ago, you might think about changing the election date from September 14. It's going to have a late charge, Boggy, apparently. Second, you might think about putting the candidate's name on the ad, unless you're somehow going to get Boggy on the actual ballot. And third, well, there's another ad.
People have asked, why me? Why am I running for Country Alliance? Well, I am a very proud parent. And
third, you might want to do a second take if you don't know why you're running. Nice one, Boggy. I love you. I'm voting for you September 14. My other favourite candidate ad so far is from Wentworth. It's not Malcolm Turnbull's, but it does involve one of his opponents, independent Pat Sheil, sending up Big Mel's NBN plan.
My fellow Wentworthians, it is with great pride tonight that I announce that within the first term of a Sheil administration, we'll be launching the fusion-powered interplanetary spacecraft, the HMAS Golden Sheaf, here to the planet Neptune. We'll be travelling in this spacecraft. Constructed fully of available off-the-shelf technology, it will come in under budget and on time.
Written, spoken and authorised by Pat Sheil, somewhere up the jungle went.
When asked why he was running a nuisance campaigner, Sheil said, "I want to spend less time with my family." Annabelle, is this an election where anyone who's a protest vote has a chance?
Well, no, not necessarily. He is not a nuisance, by the way. He is an ornament to Wentworth, and he is a regular feature of the Wentworth electoral scene. And he does the sensible thing for being a hobby candidate. I mean, apart from the spacesuit, obviously. He maintains his day job, which is writing the Column 8 column at the Sydney Morning Herald, and he just does a lovely job of entertaining people. Pat Sheil is a beautiful part of the Wentworth microeconomy.
I just wonder if the feeling's mutual from the Sheil family about wanting to spend less time with him as well, based on that ad. But look, I think I agree with Annabelle. You need a bit of humour. Like my favourite is the party, basically. And you know, like politics can be really boring. If someone's going to throw the hat in the ring, not pretend to be serious and have a bit of fun, good on them, I say. And we need more of them.
I just think he needed a yellow background.
I just think if anyone's tuning into the ABC right now, they're like, gee, the new Doctor Who's a bit... In truth, there's really only one candidate ad likely to make a difference in this election.
My son here, second eldest of my son.